record. That is recording. I'm going to record over here just in case. I'm going to do a double record just in case one of them fails. And on 3, 2, 1. We are speaking to Åge. Is that how we say it? Åge Sten Nielsen from Wig Wam.
My name is Åge Sten. Is almost like Stone Age.
Stone Age.
Sten, stone in Norwegian.
No, it's
or you can call me Glam. You know, it's much easier for you guys. But my name is Åge Sten Nielsen. That's how it's pronounced.
Åge Sten.
Yeah.
You see, because we're in Canada, we say age. You know, we look at that little circle on top of the A and we go, what's that? I don't know what that is. But no,
I'm about to get so you can call me Age now.
Oh, look at you! You've got your wine. Look at that. I've got my coffee in my Huey Lewis mug. So you know.
Yeah, you know it's like 10 in the evening here in Norway now, and it's daytime your place. So if you were having your glass of red wine now, would be a little too early, right?
Yeah, 4 in the afternoon's a little early, but we are here to talk about the great news, which is. Well, it's not a new Ammunition record because that would be greater. That would be great news too. But no, it is, of course, the new Wig Wam album is called Never Say Die, out January 22nd, 2021. I've had a chance to hear it, and I've got to say, there's a shitload of songs on here that are fantastic. But there is one called Call of the Wild that is fucking fantastic. Excuse the language, but sometimes you got to add emphasis. Yeah.
It's one of the heavier songs on the album. It's written by our bass player and it's sung by our bass player mostly. And he's from the heavy metal world. He used to play in a band called Arch. I don't know if you're familiar with Arch. It's a great band from the 80s. They could have been pretty big. I think they made a deal with Music for Nations. They were very much into Metallica back in the day. Sounded a bit similar to Metallica. Had a guy from Iceland as a singer, Eirik Hauksson, used to be my next door neighbor, and great singer. Almost, have the kind of Bruce Dickinson pipes.
Actually, sorry, let me start there then. In terms of getting all this musical background together and making an album, because you're very much into Queen. You do the Queen show over in, where is it, in Norway you're doing the Queen show, or are you doing it in London? No, Norway.
I've done a show in Las Vegas as well,
right.
In the Congressional Center there. And in Sweden, we've been doing some shows, and in the Faroe Island, yeah.
Oh, wow. So I mean, you've got this sort of big 70s rock baggage in your heart. You've got the heavy metal guy. Talk to me about how you sort of all come together and decide what the sound for an album is going to be. I mean, is it just the best songs win, or do you have to say no? It's got to be Wig Wam music. It's got to sound this way.
Interesting question. Actually, whatever comes natural. I mean, we know what Wig Wam is. It's the combination of the four of us, and obviously we are 3 songwriters in the band: the bass player, the guitar player, and myself. And we come from pretty similar backgrounds, even though I think Tron is more into, Van Halen and, the Zeppelin stuff. But he also have, that kind of blues thing in him. Bernd, the bass player, he comes from, from Judas Priest, Metallica, Slayer, old-fashioned heavy metal. That's his life. And even the old 70s stuff. Me, I was probably the more glam dude, been into Slade and Sweet especially, and Kiss and Queen, and both Tron and myself have that in common, that we are big fans of Alice Cooper, so that's kind of our thing, and but together we write music that just feels that comes naturally, and on this album, Tron and myself, I think we wrote 3 songs together, and then we have just written by ourselves. So actually, some of my songs were actually written for Ammunition. That's where my head was when I wrote a couple of the songs, especially Hard Low was supposed to be an Ammunition song that I wrote been together with the guys. I remember sitting in a living room in at Victor's place and wrote that riff. And later, I just thought it would be natural to bring it on for Wig Wam. And
Yeah, and for folks that don't know Ammunition, they have an album out called Shanghai, which I think is 2014, right? It's been 6 years.
2015, and we released our second album in 2018.
Yeah, so
simply
still,
called.
yeah, so I mean, the first album is still almost 5 years old, and that album is so incredibly good. There's not a wasted second of goodness on that album. It's just perfect from top to bottom. But I'll get back to that in a second. Let's talk Wig Wam. The band breaks up just before that Shanghai album, 2013, 2012, the last album, Wall Street. How did you get to that point where instead of saying let's take a break and let's go explore our own family life and go explore Ammunition and whatever, why did the band just get to a point where you just went, that's it, we're done, time out?
There's a I could write a book about it. You know, it started probably in 2007, I guess, when most of the guys, you know, really wanted a break because we were playing like 200 gigs. And, you know, from 2003 until like 2007, we were touring, you know, like crazy. And we weren't at home much, you know. And when we came back from a tour of Japan in 2007, the guys called in for a meeting and they really wanted a break. And they really didn't want us to set a date for when we were getting back together. And I told the guys, you know, that's crazy. This is our job. We need to know when we are getting back together, especially for a couple of us. This is our daytime job. But they wouldn't agree on that. So I thought to myself, what am I going to do? So I put together a Queen show. That was a kind of the start of the downfall of Wig Wam, because as soon as the guys wanted to get back together again, my Queen show was doing so great. So I had already booked a year. And when they called me, wanted us to get back together again, you know, I was busy and I had planned my year.
Let me
I
ask
hate
you
to
just
say
real
I
quick
told
about
you.
I told you so. Let me ask you about that Queen show, because I've watched the videos online. I mean, the performances are great. You sing great. When you say it's your show, did you write it? Did you conceive it? Did you build that show from the ground?
Yeah, actually, I did that way back in the late 90s, when I had stopped believing that I was gonna make it in the business. So I thought to myself, yeah, I was having a daytime job being a mental caretaker for disabled people, and I made a lot of shows. I was a show producer, so I produced a show with an Eagles show with a great names. I mean, we had Jorn Lande as one of the singers, and Eirik Haugsson from Arts, and a very known and respected country singer from Norway from a band called Midnight Choir called Paul Flåta. Great musicians. And we brought in this Creedence show. We called it the Creedence Clearwater Arrival with one of the first big stars in Norway, Jan Groth. He used to play sing in a band called Aunt Mary, good friend of mine. And I had, you know, these plans for a Queen show where I could actually fit in. I really had been dreaming of doing this show. And here comes Wig Wam, being that kind of 80s stuff, you know. We had lots of fun, but suddenly, you know, it took off and we had too much to do. I had to quit my daytime job and, you know, things went fast. So in 2007, when the guys really wanted that break, I thought to myself what to do. I had this Queen show that I never got to do. So I brought my plans to a friend of mine who was running a club in my hometown. Asked him if he wanted to co-produce this show. Brought in a big choir and some dancers and some stuff. And I made this show, and it was 1.5 hour per set. So I literally did 3 hours worth of, you know, entertainment on stage every night. And I had 36 costume changes in one show. And it really took off. And my plan was, for this to last for 5 nights. And we still do the show now. We only do it in big arenas in Norway. Last time we played it was
Wow.
in November 2019. 8,000 people in Oslo Spectrum. It's crazy.
Wow. You're going to have to put on a Kiss show, a Kiss tribute show at some point too. But
But who's buying? No. The thing is, what I really wanted to do was to put, the songs together and make, kind of, some, special effects and stuff that you haven't seen in a Queen show. I almost made it like a musical, so small stories.
small story, yeah.
I know we weren't really allowed. It was in the gray zone, kind of, because we're not really allowed to, make, kind of storytelling, bringing in different stories and telling a story by using that music. Obviously, it's a tribute show, but we, try to push the limits of it.
Yeah, so it's a musical theater. Let me just quickly, let me talk about the beginning of Wig Wam here, because it's 2003, 2004, 2005. You've got 667, the neighbor of the beast, and then of course Hard to Be a Rock and Roller. Same.
Yeah.
But let me ask you about that, because in early 2000s, rock, glam rock, hair metal, whatever you want to call it, was out of favor. Nobody wanted to hear about it. Record companies wanted nothing to do with it. But you stuck to your guns and you did it anyway. Talk to me about some of the challenges of getting the band started in that kind of atmosphere, or in that kind of space, and saying, yeah, we're not going to be grunge guys. We're going to do what we do.
We were kind of lucky because, in the late 90s and, even around 2000, I was more into doing that pop style, people. There was no way you could, and nowhere you could do that, heavy metal stuff or hair metal or rock and roll at all. Everything was this kind of cool style, that everybody should do at that time. So when I was asked to join this band, it was literally a jam band. So we were put together 4 musicians, just doing old classics as a jam act every Friday, and then suddenly there was going to be an 80s party in that town, and they hired us. So 3 days before we did the gig, I told the guys, we need a name, and we need, should we do something? Let's come up with some image stuff. It's a fucking party. And my show person, the producer, started to think, we can make this into, because the 80s started to be kind of cool again. Kind of, they started to have these 80s parties, and maybe we could do this kind of, an 80s show, whatever. Only classics from, Van Halen, Motley Crue, Kiss, obviously, Alice Cooper, all the stuff that we dug. We started to do this show, and people couldn't believe their eyes, because we were having makeup on, spandex, everything, and they were so hungry for that kind of music again. So after a while, making up stories like the one that we came originally from the Bronx with the set, the Polish Quarter of Brooklyn, and we emigrated to Norway, because we were drug addicts in the US, and our the first album from 1969 went so bad, and all the shit, just crazy made up stories. After a while, we thought, wouldn't it be nice to write our own music? So we started to write new songs and blend it in with the covers. But we wouldn't present it as our own songs. But after the show, there would always be someone who asked us what that song was, or that song, that Kiss song, or that Van Halen song is ours. So
that's a good way to do it. Let me also ask you about the country, because when you're in Norway and you're in Sweden, and even Germany, this music, this classic rock music or whatever, seems to still be in favor, and fans still seem to support it. And when a band like a Kiss goes there, there still seems to be a lot of love. Why do you think that is, and why do you think those countries still react to that? Whereas when you look at North America, especially in the United States, it's very flavor du jour. It's got to be the new thing. It's you know we all got to do the baby and Pop Smoke and Post Malone and forget the Wig Wam. And you're like, well, no, but Wig Wam's so good, you know.
I don't know. I don't know. There must be something in the water.
Yeah, it's got to be. Well, I'll say, hey, listen, as long as it's going. So let me talk about Never Say Die some more here. In terms of putting this album together, why was it important to have new music and not just say, okay, we're back. We're going to play the classics. Let's go do a 50-show tour. We'll go all around Scandinavia. Merci beaucoup. Why bother saying, okay, if we're going to do this, we need 10 new tracks, 12 new tracks?
Yeah, actually, we never planned it this way. Nothing was really planned. How it got started, it was me bumping into some of the members, all members from the band, us not being the best of friends for a while, not talking to each other since that last show in 2013. We never looked back, but occasionally we bumped into each other and it felt kind of awkward. So at one point I felt, maybe we should have that coffee. I mean, we're getting older, you can't, stick to that old, rubbish, whatever happened. We toured a lot. There was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of booze for my sake. And, so I started to make those phone calls, inviting the guys home to me, having a cup of coffee, just talking about the old times, never discussing us getting back together. For me, that was out of the question. I remember one of the first things that led to us having those coffee cups together was Tron inviting me backstage when I went to see one of his concerts with his former band, Dream Police. And we had our first beer since 2013. And every year I would also receive requests for Wig Wam to do one show there and one show there, and then NRK, Norwegian Broadcasting, started to to call me and ask me if maybe we should get back together and maybe do a special performance in the Eurovision Song Contest final for the Norwegian final. It's out of the question. But after we had spent some more time together and renewed our friendship, and it felt kind of good again. I mean, some of the guys would just call me and say, "Hey, how are you doing? Yeah, how are you doing?" And we'd be more private. At one point, I told Tron that I had been receiving those requests for the band, and should we do it? Would it be cool? I mean, just do a one-off on TV. And that's the first thing that we agreed on, to do one song, In My Dreams, probably.
Well, yeah, your Eurovision song of what year was that?
2000.
2005. Okay.
Yeah. And so when we started to discuss this, we talked, wouldn't it be even cooler to have In My Dreams and maybe a new song and maybe just do a gig that summer, just one gig? It would be cool to play together again. So, and Tron had this song that he had started to write, Never Say Die. It already had that lyric.
Great song.
Because he had started to dream a bit about getting back together. And so that was our plan. And we accepted the offer from Tons of Rock and a couple of more festivals. But the thing was, Tons of Rock, we were supposed to do Tons of Rock this summer with Iron Maiden, Deep Purple, and doing the main stage and everything. They really wanted to promote it in November 2019, which kind of screwed the idea of the shock appearance in the Eurovision Song Contest. So we had to choose. And we, at that time, we thought, isn't it cooler just to do that festival? That's our home. Eurovision is what broke that song, what made us what we are. But we've been there, done that. Let's go home. Let's stay where we are, where we feel home with our people. So that's what happened. And The rest of it is COVID-19 history, society falling apart, and we have this song, and suddenly so much, cancellations and not doing anything. So we had already started to write some songs, and we started to get together. I drove 9 hours from where I live now. I moved up north in Norway. I live 9 hours from Trondheim. Took my car, went down to the studio, and we wrote some killer songs, and we started to work on an album. And when we had like 12 songs, we thought, hey, should be cool to release this. And that's when our plans on releasing an album started to
come to
come
fruition.
up. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
listen, it turned out great. I've had a chance to hear it. I'm just going to go back to the date here. When does it come out for the rest of everybody? January 22nd, 2020.
Yeah.
In terms of sound, did you think to yourself, okay, we have to sound like Wig Wam of 15 years ago? Or do you say, hey, let's just write whatever is fresh and new? How do you approach, like, when you think AC/DC, you think there's a classic sound. Does Wig Wam have to have a classic sound, or can you experiment and move it forward?
We have never discussed what kind of style we are, what we're supposed to do. It's easy to hear that on Wall Street because we wanted different things. All members wanted four different things. And the thing was, I brought an acoustic guitar, sat down with Tron, and we started to write a song. It became Dirty Little Secret. And we already had, Never Say Die in the can, and then I started to look for songs because I started to be, more inspired. Found some songs that I originally had written for Ammunition. I mean, Ammunition isn't that far away from Wig Wam. Listen, 5 of the songs on Shanghai was originally written for Wig Wam. Well, Shanghai, Hit Me With Your Bombs, Give Me a Sign.
Hit Me With Your Bombs. That's a great song. I love those songs. Okay, let me just quickly get to Ammunition for 1 second, because you leave after Wall Street, you do your other stuff, then Ammunition comes out, and this Shanghai, and it's funny because I asked a friend, I said, listen, I'm out of new music, I got nothing. They said, oh, you got to listen to Shanghai. And I went, okay, fine. So I bought it, and I played it, and it was amazing. I just went, oh, okay, all right, I'm into this. And then the second came out, and it was like, oh, okay. So is there a third album? Does the band still exist? Are you all Wig Wam, no Ammunition? Are you both? Are you Wig Wam, Ammunition, Queen? Where are you?
We're alive and kicking.
Right?
There's room for everything. I mean, now we're releasing a new Wig Wam album. We have this comeback. What is that going to be like tomorrow? We are making it official that we're playing a festival in Germany. Our first festival in Germany since 2010 or something. And we'll probably go out on tour, but who knows when we can tour. There's so many songs, and I mean, this is my life. This is what this is my job. So I need to tour. I need to write music. I'm gonna write some new solo albums, definitely, and there's at least 2 or 3 more Ammunition albums coming, and you'll have this Wig Wam album, hopefully more, and I'm doing an album with John Norum from Europe now. It's gonna come out in the spring, I think. We're probably gonna tour. I'm gonna go write some songs with Ken Hammer from Pretty Maids. We're talking about, doing a collaboration. Dan Reed and myself have been talking about making an album together. That's more like the solo stuff. There's so many things to do. I have some show plans. I'm writing songs with my daughter, and I'm writing songs with my girlfriend, and I'm having a song in Eurovision Song Contest now. When is this gonna be released? When is this?
This will be up by December 18th or 19th, unless you want me to hold off on it. I can hold off on it.
No problem. But I have this song in Eurovision Song Contest.
And by the way,
I'm not a singer, but people are gonna really get a kick out of the singer. I promise you.
Since you mentioned Pretty Maids real quick, I just want to give a moment to think about Ronnie, who's going through his cancer battle, because
disaster. Just
yeah,
released his whole album. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
I never
have you
I never
talked to
met
him?
him
No.
personally.
Okay.
No. He's a good friend of Eric's. So obviously, they have the Nordic Union together. I've only, the only guy from Pretty Maze I've ever connected with is Ken. And when we potted sometimes, he's a great guy. I love him. And I really like Pretty Maze as well. I think one of the first albums that I bought, on vinyl, Red Hot and Heavy, I think, Pretty Mates. One of the first albums I
So
bought
many
on.
great European bands that don't make it over to North America. I mean, you got Pink Cream 69, you've got Pretty Maids, you've got Thunder, Gothard, Ammunition, Nordic Union with Eric, his band as well, Eclipse, which I was,
Yeah.
so many, so many great bands. And we'll start wrapping up on this in terms of, because it is difficult to tour North America, is forget it. How is the whole COVID thing going for you in Europe? Because in Sweden they didn't really lock anybody down, and I saw shows for the last year, little tiny bar shows and stuff. Are you completely forbidden? Are you allowed a little bit? Does it look good for January, February, March, or is it sort of just a big question mark?
Norway is a blessed country because
Yes.
of the oil. We have lots of money here. So in Norway, we are getting money from the government. I mean, if I want to do a big wigwam show tomorrow, I'll I'll probably get some money from the government and to actually pay the the crew, and probably get a penny or two for myself, just to make sure that at least 200 persons can go out and see a live show, even though it's no business, but they want people to get on with their lives. In Norway, we've been very, I think we handled the COVID situation very good. We only had, I think it's 420 casualties. Yeah, deaths. In Sweden, it's 7,000. But we locked down, and we have been trying to deal with this in a very different way than Trump's America, where he was having these rallies with thousands of people without masks, and it was crazy. I've been watching this from Norway on CNN. I thought, what the fuck is going on down there?
Well, I also have to say, from the Canadian perspective, watching what was going on in Sweden when their guy was coming out and going, "No, we're just going to trust each other to do the right thing." I'm like, "Oh, good luck with that."
But in May we were given the opportunity to play in front of 50 persons. You know what I did? I called my booker here in Norway. Sometimes I do my acoustic shows. Asked him, book places. Let me get, a small PA that I can put up myself. I'll bring my girlfriend, and we'll make a trip. And we'll play in front of 50 persons per night. Instead of sitting isolated at home being nuts, it's better to drive around, meet people in a safe way, social distancing and all, and try to give people some kind of hope, some kind of social feeling.
Interaction, yeah.
Yeah. So and that was a success, actually. I met so many people from May till September doing this tour, playing wigwam songs, ammunition songs, old rainbow songs, stuff that I love, even some Tom Petty songs and some solo songs, and some shows have lasted for 3 hours, and getting to meet people and to socialize, it's been very important for me because I'm so used to traveling and to suddenly just sit back home, do nothing. That will turn me into a nutcase.
It's long. I've been sitting at home here in Montreal since March, and I'm scheduled to sit at home until September of 2021 because work has told me to stay home for. It's going to be a long. I'm trying to do the math here. What is that? That's going to be? That's going to be like 18 months or something of sitting at home. So that's.
And the funny thing is, in a year or two, we'll look back at this, and we'll keep bringing that COVID-19 thing with us, and that will be looked upon as only a small flu. I have COVID. Oh,
well, the good thing is, my kids are 14 and 17, and I said to my kids, I said, just remember this time, because when you get to be my age and your kids have a history project in school, you'll be able to say, I was there. So just remember, remember it. Never Say Die, of course, out in January. Wig Wam, one of the greatest rock bands out of Europe. Always a fun time. I'm just looking at Hard to Be a Rock and Roller, Nonstop Rock and Roll, Wig Wam. I have all these albums, by the way. I bought them all from Japan because those bonus tracks. Which one had the I Was Made for Loving You bonus track?
Oh, I think that was must have been 667, maybe The Neighbor of the Beast, or first album, like or probably Hard to Be a Rock and Roller in Kiev.
I'm trying to think which one. Let's have a look here. No, this one has Chaser. I'm going to look them up real quick. One of them had I Was Made for Loving You. Let me see. No, it's
Bruce
not that.
Kulick.
It's not. Oh, yeah, and Bruce played on it, right?
Yeah, Bruce was playing guitar.
It was a Hard to Be a Rock and Roller. Anyway, here it is. A Hard to Be a Rock and Roller also had Ballroom Blitz and Genghis Khan. There you go.
Yeah, because we were invited to do this, Eurovision TV show, and all the artists was supposed to do an old classic Eurovision song, and so we chose Genghis Khan. That was cool.
There you go. On that, folks, make sure you pick up Never Say Die. Always a pleasure, and as we say, at least on the Danish side, tack. I don't know if you say that in Norway, but close enough.
Talk some fun.
Cheers. Bye-bye now. Great.
Merry Christmas.
All right. Merry Christmas to you. Great. That was perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Let me turn.